Howdy, Banger pals. Blaine Smith joining you for another Overkill Reviews, Banger's weekly metal review show. A bunch of you were bugging me. You didn't end up reviewing Imperial Triumphant, but what? Gotcha. I'm reviewing Imperial Triumphant. Yes, I am reviewing the new Imperial Triumphant, which means I'm talking about the new Imperial Triumphant called Goldstar. It came out March 21st on Century Media Records. Do you know who Imperial Triumphant are? Not even because they're like, oh, so famous, but they're a band that you know. They're a very knowable band. They're over the top. They're in masks. Kenny G's son played in the band for a bit. Formed in 2005, New York City, 6 full lengths, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of masks in metal, but they're the guys in the gold ones that shoot lasers. I love car crashes. Weird start. Yes, I'll bring it back around, don't worry. Despite only personally being in one, a peculiar amount of car crashes have happened, like, near me as I'm going about my life, and I really find the sound of them sublime. But after the initial pleasure of the sound, there is the, fuck, now I need to make sure nobody's died. Thankfully, of the 6 car crashes, yes, that's the real number. Yes, funny coincidence, I know. Of the 6 car crashes I've been a bystander at, everyone has walked away, and I've only had to talk to some insurance people on the phone. Imperial Triumphant albums are a car crash, both in a near literal sense, and this shit sounds like a car crash, and in the figurative way I mean in that I can't believe it has not gone terribly wrong yet, and that feels inevitable. But somehow, once again, they've wrapped a Buick around a pole and everyone is doing great. This shouldn't work, and it certainly shouldn't work to the level of mainstream success it has, but here we are. Imperial Triumphant are a discordant mess of indulgence that normally appeals to only the most unbearable level of Berkeley graduate degenerate. So, what's the secret? How are they pulling this off every time? I mean this completely straight-faced. It's 'cause it's evil. If you've read some Horus Heresy books, which I'm betting you haven't, there's a point where the Emperor's children fall to chaos and they become this absolute S&M art pervert, and the description of the concert they put on and the way it seems to a normal person feels like they could be describing an Imperial Triumphant concert. Despite being on album 6 and coming off a big tour with a bot, they've not backed off the intensity. They've not softened what they do. They're not playing any less notes at the same time. This is the first 30 seconds of the record. Well, the first 30-ish seconds after some atmosphere and samples. But basically, this is how the record starts. 38 minutes. The only sign that maybe they acknowledge this is their minute in the sun and they should capitalize on it is in both album and song runtimes. At 38 minutes, the album is near 20 minutes shorter than most of their offerings with the same number of songs. They might be trying to appeal to new fans, but they're doing it by showing what they've been doing this whole time to them as soon as they walk in. And if you don't like it, hey, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, making it an even more delightfully New York affair than it's ever been. It's that classic New York, hey, come on in, we'd love to have you, and if you've got complaints about the food, get the hell out of here. And like, great. Yes, that's what I want. Thank you. So many bands at this point would be indulging themselves with more and more and more. So it's refreshing to hear a band go, okay, this train has been rolling for a few years now. With this experience, how do we make it more efficient? What fat can we cut to get what we do out there better? There isn't much margin for Imperial Trumpet to become better musicians. What incremental gains they could eke out there would already be imperceptible to almost all listeners and a majority of musicians. Instead, they've gone all in on pushing themselves as communicators, storytellers, songwriters, and even rock stars. And with hindsight, completely the correct decision. This is exactly what Imperial Triumphant sounds like, but in 38 minutes and a fun 38 minutes. There's one song I can literally play in its entirety right here, featuring frequent collaborator Yoshiko Ahara. Of everyone at Banger, Sarah is the person my opinions most closely align with, and I'm definitely on her side about not liking features on metal tracks very much. I don't know about her, but the main reason I don't like features is most of the time they're just serving to muddy the waters. Usually features go, hey, we are a death metal band, and this is a death metal song featuring popular death metal vocalist X. And unless I'm already quite familiar with the band, I'm like, okay, where is you? Where is he? What does your band actually sound like? These situations feel more capitalistic than artistic. Like, hey, if we have so and so on here, it'll give our album a bump kind of thing, and then it'll give their album a bump. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. But as you guys know, I am open to anything if it's cool, whether it's a genre, style, technique. If it works, it works. That's the way I've always felt. All of you know, well, almost all of you know that, except two really angry guys in the Metal Monthly comments. Why doesn't someone else host Metal Monthly? Because it's my show. I created the show. No one else is gonna sit in their basement for 5 hours every Sunday going full pervert mode to make sure they don't miss anything. Because as a reminder, I do research Metal Monthly like live on Twitch. So even if I don't like a band that you might like, you still get to hear them on the show. So stop by the Twitch chat, talk some trash. It's a fun time. Anyways, Imperial Triumphant have long had people pop in for a track, but the approach is a little different this time around. There are a lot fewer people, first of all, and when they do, it's more to showcase the person involved, and there's not really a question of, I wonder where the feature is on a track. The guest presence immediately changes the dynamic, and you know there's someone new here. And as I said in my last review of them, yes, it's very easy to tell when suddenly a Japanese woman is singing, but on Pleasure Dome, which features Meshuggah drummer on vocals Thomas Hawk and Everything drummer on drums Dave Lombardo, if you didn't look at the liner notes, you'd still guess like, hey, I think some extra dudes have showed up to the party. So how are they able to pull this off? Things that I say are normally near impossible for big musicians to do, they're nailing with flying colors. What's the secret? They just have good taste. I know that might be an unsatisfactory answer, but it's the truth. The difference between a good band like this and a bad band like this is just, do they like cool stuff? I mean, that's the difference between New York and Dubai, right? The band pairing with Art Deco is incredibly perfect because Art Deco is also this opulent, over the top, throw everything at it style that manages to never teeter over into gaudy. Little blame thing that when I was 12, I begged and pleaded my parents to take me to New York City. In hindsight, they were probably just relieved I wasn't trying to drag them around Disney World. So we packed into the car and drove to New York because at that time, for some reason, 10-hour car rides were super normal, even though we didn't have phones. What was the main thing I wanted to do in New York? I wanted to go to the Chrysler Building. Critically, that's a private building. So we went, and a security guard was like, "What are you doing here?" My parents were like, "This is our son's favorite building." And he was just like, "Oh, weird. I guess you can look around the lobby." Autism. Imperial Triumphant have said that that's their favorite building too, and they even shot a music video we showed off the top there, and they're like the only people to shoot there since Metropolis, which I don't know if it's because it's hard to shoot there or if everybody's just an idiot and is wasting the most perfect building in the world. And like, yeah, I can feel that. They've always had a really clear vision on what this band should be and not veered from it, which helps them not get lost in the sauce like every sort of technical, progressive, fast hand finger wizard maniac does. Especially when mixed with the kind of playful, fun smirk you know is hiding under those masks. It's very important to not take this whole thing too seriously, lest it collapse under its own weight. This album feels like just a pure distillation of that vibe. They made it 38 minutes. Their goal was, hey, can we make our music a little bit more fun for everybody, including ourselves? That's what you should be doing on album number 6. I realize a lot of this Imperial Triumphant review has been about, me, but it's because I feel a strong kinship with this album, and there's a lot of things that come up in my brain when I listen to it because of that kind of feeling of simpatico. If Imperial Triumphant came to me after the last record and said, "Hey Blaine, what do we do for the next one?" I would have said, tighten things up, reduce but not eliminate guests to increase focus, 40-minute album, and dear God, go back to your old cover art style, please, please, please. I feel like the Shia LaBeouf meme here. In an empty theater. I have a love for New York. I love the Chrysler Building. I love black and death metal. I love noise. Ugly chuds call me a hipster. It's all here just for me. I am dumb though, so I feel like 0.5 of Imperial Triumphant is always gonna get lost behind the fact that I don't actually know what they're doing, but the other 4.5, well, I was gonna say 4.5 Imperial Triumphant masks out of 5, but Mr. Daniel Williams was like, I thought you were gonna say gold stars, and gosh darn it, he's right, I've never given a band a gold star, so 4.5 gold stars for the boys. What are you doing about your home security? I don't know, podcast ad. You don't know me like that. We can't have that kind of conversation. And thankfully, we don't have to have that kind of conversation because we have a Patreon campaign. You give us a couple bucks. I don't got to do ad reads for completely unrelated products. And we're cracking open the banger vaults right now. We're giving you more content than ever before. Once a month, you get a massive drop in addition to all the stuff we've already been doing. So if you're not a member, sign up, and if you are a member, hey, thanks a lot. But of course, we're not quite done here. I have shout-outs for you. Of course, the shout-outs aren't going to sound like Imperial Triumphant because nothing sounds like Imperial Triumphant. But I do have 3 shout-outs that I feel like I can relate. So first up, just some great death metal came out last week. My pal Jesse from Bellwitch is also making death metal drumming in Corpus Awful's Corpus Awful. Came out on 20 bucks spin March 21st. Please buy it, buy it, buy it. If you'd like some blackened, this is blackened thrash, but you know, Imperial Triumphant blackens up their death metal. Gallower is blackening up thrash on Vengeance and Wrath on Dying Victims production coming out March 28th. And if you want something that's over the top, here's Japanese power metal in Shiver of Frontier, Power of Great Spirits, Blacklisted Productions, March 28th. I don't know where the hell you're gonna find that because Japan isn't necessarily the best about putting music on the internet, but hopefully it's on a streaming service. And that's been the review. So get down in the comments. Let me know. Are you Imperial Triumphant fans? I love how divisive this band is. I love that people love them, and I love that people hate them. It's great. I like things that produce strong reactions. So let's have some strong reactions down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one, gang.